eastern shores and the Potomac Ocean. Whatever the case, these victories made Uriel very popular back at home. Many were beginning to consider him a genius. Well, after conquering a strange landmass called Esronay, that's quote-unquote a few weeks east of Tamriel by ship, Uriel decided that he was done with islands. He decided that his next military campaign would be to conquer. Stories and tales of it are shrouded in myth and legend, but evidently it's just as large, if not larger than Tamriel itself, and is home to monkey people, ice demons, venomous snake men, and more. Unfortunately, like all of those islands Uriel was gobbling up, there are no existing maps of Akavir we players are aware of, so anything you see is just a fan artist's depiction. Heck, we're not even sure how far away from Tamriel it is. Uriel began planning an invasion. Over the next year or so, supply lines were established, more ships were built, soldiers were recruited, and there was allegedly even an extensive amount of magical reconnaissance done ahead of time. Our primary source for all of this preparation and what would follow is the book Report, The Disaster at Ionith, which is, or was, a report commissioned by what was left of the Emperor's Elder Council after the Akaviri invasion, to figure out what went wrong and what happened to the Emperor. And yes, spoiler alert, in case it wasn't already obvious, seeing as our best source for all of this is a report about what went wrong, you can probably guess what fate Uriel's upcoming adventure would lead him to. But I digress. Evidently, at least according to the report's authors, the Emperor really didn't skim on planning this thing. He was careful to make sure he had extra grain to feed his armies, made sure the Imperial mages doing the magical scouting were being triple checked, and even had some extra legions in reserve just in case things went sour. As far as we can tell, despite how foolish it seems to try to land an army in such a mysterious place, Uriel V was doing his homework and was being cautious. Again, we don't have maps, so we can't get into specifics, but the Emperor and his staff ultimately determined that their initial landing in Akavir would be on a coast controlled by the Sayesi, or the Snake People. These would be the first folks Uriel aimed to conquer. It's critical we understand who the Sayesi are in order to really grasp the situation at hand, and knowing their lore is essential to some of the theories we're going to dive into a bit. So let's spare a moment to talk about this strange race before going any further. Lucky us, among the numerous organisms said to inhabit Akavir, the Sayesi are probably the ones we know the most about. Even if we're missing a lot of crucial details, and that doesn't really mean anything. The book, Mysterious Akavir, which was written by an anonymous author and first appeared in the Elder Scrolls III Morrowind, describes the Sayesi as being terrifying, yet beautiful in appearance, boasting golden scales and sharp fangs. Allegedly, they even have an almost vampire-like lust for blood, having apparently killed all the human beings who lived on Akavir thousands of years ago, and now they survive off of the blood of enslaved goblins. Accounts vary on their exact body structure. Some say they look relatively human, just scaly, while other texts allege that they slither around on giant tails and possess shape-shifting capabilities. Regardless, despite so much left vague, the Sayesi played a surprisingly important role in Tamriel's own history, as in the year 2703 of the First Era, roughly 1,000 years before Uriel's ascension to the throne, they invaded Tamriel. Yeah, that's right. Believe it or not, the Sayesi did what Uriel wants to do and came over here. The assault began as their forces landed on the Northern Empire was just getting started. The denizens of Tamriel were about as shocked by this attack as you can possibly imagine. I mean, just waking up one day to see legions of possibly vampiric, possibly slithering armies of snake people you never even knew existed would be quite the baffling event. To them, it was like an alien attack. To this day, it's unclear what the Sayesi wanted. Some argue they came only to find humans so they could drink our blood. Others argue they wanted new territory. But it's still unknown. But as they prepared to cross the Gerald Mountains and leave Skyrim to enter Cyrodiil, the army was met by Riemann Cyrodiil, the then emperor and also founder and namesake of the Second Cyrodiilic Empire, who happened to be a dragonborn. As Riemann's and the Akaviri forces began to clash, before the fighting got really bloody, at some point in time, Riemann used his dragonborn abilities to dragon shout at the Akaviri army. And much to his pleasant surprise, the Snake people all immediately surrendered and submitted. As soon as they heard his voice, they gave up. They must have known what a dragonborn was and held the position in high regard. After this event, most of the lizards just went back home and didn't bother anyone again. Though some chose to stay and serve this dragonborn emperor. These Sayesi were the founders of the Blades, the emperor's personal bodyguard and special forces that would go on to serve every remaining dragonborn emperor. The Blades, of course, would become a pretty influential organization in Tamriel on their own. And while their membership over the years would include fewer and fewer Sayesi, eventually becoming entirely Tamrielic in racial makeup, they still play a pivotal role in quite a few Elder Scrolls games, before being destroyed by the Thalmor in the Great War, and possibly rebuilt by the Dragonborn in Skyrim, depending on how much you like Delphine and company. Anyway, while I'd love to spend more time talking about the Blades and the Akaviri invasion of Tamriel, we'll get back to all of this later. For now, just understand that the Sayesi are mysterious folk, shrouded in myth, yet also clearly quite advanced and civilized, seeing as they were capable of organizing an invasion of Tamriel. And that Uriel V wanted to conquer first. Thus, after months of planning, he finally went into motion. On the 23rd of Rain's Hand, in the year 288 of the Third Era, Uriel finally departed from Ezronay. And after sailing roughly 4 weeks east, he and 4 veteran Imperial legions finally saw the shores of Akavir. Their landing site was a large Sayesi coastal city that sat on the mouth of a river. Evidently, the Emperor chose it thanks to its close proximity to Tamriel's supply lines and the fertility of nearby land. While Uriel and his generals expected to storm the city and capture it, the Imperials were pleasantly surprised to find the place totally abandoned when they showed up. And the forces were able to disembark with absolutely no resistance. It would seem the natives must have known the Empire was coming ahead of time, and retreated further inland. Either way, Uriel was just happy to finally be on dry land. The newly occupied city was renamed Septimia, the first Imperial colony of Akavir. And Uriel immediately had the engineers begin fortifying the city's defenses, and expanding its port to better suit the Imperial fleet. From here, the Emperor took all 4 of his legions and marched inland upriver, leaving behind just a small garrison. According to a report, the Akaviri countryside was full of well-watered fields and various natural resources. This was great news, seeing as the Empire would be able to start planting crops and collecting harvests, as well as mine metal, and wouldn't be so dependent on overseas supply lines. Eventually, the legions encountered another recently abandoned city upriver and occupied it, renaming the place Ioneth. Remember, that report is called The Disaster at Ioneth. Just some food for thought. Anyway, the city was much larger than Septimia, so Uriel decided to make it his Akaviri capital. This would be the new headquarters of the expedition. From here, with 2 large settlements secured and only 4 legions, the Imperials decided to focus on building up logistics and defenses while they awaited reinforcements. Legionnaires went to work constructing roads between Septimia and Ioneth, as well as building small forts and guard posts on the way. Things were largely going well, though they finally began encountering some resistance, as Sayesi raiding parties started to harass the soldiers as they built roads, and supply caravans as they moved between the 2 towns. Some started to call on the Emperor to keep pressing inland. To keep the stake, the Emperor opted to start dispatching emissaries and ambassadors to, quote, contact the Sayesi king, or whoever ruled this land, end quote. It looks as though the Emperor was hoping to just convince the natives to surrender some land, never made it back. And it appears no one was ever able to figure out what was governing the snake people anyway. Sometime in the year 289, a major setback occurred, when just a few days after a large shipment of thousands of civilian colonists landed in Akavir, the weather on the sea took a turn for the brutal and became incredibly violent and stormy. It would get so bad that the ships had to just stop traveling altogether, totally cutting off the expeditionary force from the supply lines and any hope of those reinforcements. Alas, this would merely be the first in a series of unfortunate events and tremendous setbacks that would ultimately lead to Uriel's doom. Despite losing any hope of recovering supplies, there was still quite a bit of optimism within the Imperial ranks. I mean, this was incredibly fertile land they were occupying. They'd simply just have all the new civilian colonists start farming. Problem solved. But then, temperatures started to cool, and within months, they started to freeze. Farming would have to wait. Now, with thousands of additional civilian mouths to feed, the Imperials were forced to depend totally on the grain reserves they had already brought with them, and rations were getting tight. To make matters worse, Sayansi attacks were getting even stronger, as they started to totally overrun ports and guard posts between Septimia and Iona, and blizzards were forcing the Empire to just straight up abandon some positions. When the weather finally did get warmer months later, to everyone's horror, spring brought a terrible dry wind, rather than rain. Crops would fail yet again. It got so hot that the river which connected Septimia and Iona dried up entirely. With a now very spooky food situation and storms ravaging the seas, the Imperials resorted to a desperate plan. You see, vessels could make it across the ocean from Akavir to Tamriel if they had a handful of very skilled battle mages aboard, as fortunately enough Imperial mages were capable of accurately predicting weather patterns, and just slightly changing them, just enough to help a small number of ships slip through, back and forth. It wasn't a lot of food Uriel would be able to get, but he needed anything. Once he sent the battle mages to sea, our details on what exactly happened next in Akavir start to get really shaky, as it was the battle mages who were the ones actually writing stuff down and telepathically communicating with the Elder Council back in Tamriel. The ones that remained with Uriel's men were very busy creating water for the army to drink, something they were never particularly trained to do, and required a tremendous amount of magic.
Did you know that you could use the odors in your home? Yeah. You've gone nose blind. You need Febreze plug-in with Vapify technology. It's the only air freshener that eliminates odors, so you and your guests can enjoy up to 50 days of freshness. It even reminds you to refill it. Febreze.
What we do know is that a few months into the summer, a large Sayansi army was sighted just a few miles from Iona. Uriel decided to march out with all 4 of his legions to confront the host, and he actually decisively smashed it, totally destroying the Sayansi force. However, as he and his men were chasing down the survivors, another, even larger Sayansi army appeared, and the Imperials were forced to retreat back behind Iona's walls, suffering massive casualties before they were besieged. At this point in time, full panic mode was activated. It's unclear today how large this besieging Sayansi army was, but considering it forced 4 of the Empire's most experienced legions to retreat behind walls, it must have been huge. This is also when Uriel and his forces totally stopped communicating with the outside world. His mages were just too preoccupied magically creating food for the men and fighting off assaults to spend any energy communicating. And he sure as oblivion couldn't get any of his messengers to sneak through any lines. For months, Iona was apparently being besieged, and the Elder Council, who was running things back in Tamriel, started working on a plan to get the legions and their emperor out of there. Sometime in the year 290, a small group of ships was able to slip through the storms and made it to the port city of Septimia, which apparently was also being besieged too, though by a smaller Sayansi army. The Elder Council figured that if Uriel and his men could break out from Iona and then break through the army that was besieging Septimia too, they could make it into the city and be evacuated. Ravens were dispatched to Iona, giving the Emperor this plan, and what we know next comes from the few survivors who would make it back home. Towards the end of the year, the entire Imperial army rushed from the gates of Ion, and successfully broke through the enemy lines before they started rushing down the road to Septimia. But before Uriel and his 4 legions could make it, they were surrounded and overran by Sayesi forces. A heroic last stand was made, which allowed a few hundred soldiers to escape to Septimia, but not the Emperor nor most of his officers. 2 soldiers reported watching him get struck down by arrows as he rallied a shield wall. This is the last known account of Uriel V. The survivors who made it to the port city, as well as the rest of that city's small garrison, quickly boarded on the ships and escaped to Tamriel, before that city too was probably retaken by the Sayetsi. And thus was the end of Imperial activity in Akamir. Somewhere around 40 to 70,000 people went on that expedition, from soldiers... Okay, so this is all a great sad story. A tale of a magnificent emperor who let his overambition get to his head and paid the ultimate price for it. But where's the mystery in all this, I promised? I mean, 2 Imperial soldiers clearly reported that they saw their emperor get struck down by arrow fire. Uriel died. He's not missing like the title of my video claims. Well, before I get to the really damning stuff, I should say that players have been theorizing Uriel V's survival for years now. Remember how 1,000 years ago the Sayesi invaded Tamriel, and they were ultimately stopped when Raymond Cyrodiil revealed to them he was a Dragonborn, causing all of the Sayesi to lay down their arms and submit? Well, Uriel V was also a Dragonborn himself. Indeed, all of the Septim Emperors were. He possessed the same shouting powers. Perhaps those 2 Imperial soldiers who report seeing the Emperor get shot down by arrow fire were just wrong, or maybe they were liars. Maybe, while making that heroic last stand, after all the other soldiers escaped, the Emperor shouted once or twice, and maybe that caused the Sayesi to lay down their arms and submit. Or maybe the Emperor did get hit with a couple of arrows, but they didn't kill him. They just caused him to fall unconscious, and after the battle was over and the Sayesi recovered his body, they realized he was a Dragonborn, and changed their minds a bit. If Uriel V somehow survived the disaster at Ionith, this has some incredibly huge implications on the Elder Scrolls' lore, because it means that the Septim bloodline of Emperors might not be gone after all. You see, at the conclusion of the events of the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, the last member of the Septim Dragonborn bloodline, a man named Martin Septim, dies sacrificing himself to save Tamriel from a Daedric invasion. With the Septims all gone, following a brief internal power struggle, the Mead family emerged on top and became the new rulers of the Septim Third Empire. However, because there was no longer a Dragonborn emperor sitting on the throne, the Empire lost the divine protection of Akatosh, the god of dragons, and things got really bad. The Red Mountain in Morrowind erupted, causing a massive crisis. The Thalmor began gathering power and eventually defeated the Empire in the Great War, and now the Imperial province of Skyrim might break away, depending on the player's actions in the Elder Scrolls V. But assuming Uriel V survived at Ionith, and assuming he had children, or, I don't know, just stayed alive via magical means, it would mean that there's still a Septim out there. And if that person could be put back on the throne, maybe Tamriel's current downspin could be turned around. This sounds like a crazy crackpot theory, but here's the thing I've been waiting to tell you all this time. This crazy idea I proposed, in which Uriel somehow survived the disaster at Ionith and could one day return to Tamriel to take back his throne and restore the Septim bloodline to the Empire, well, that was originally the plot for the Elder Scrolls V, at least while the game was in pre-production. Speaking to staff of the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages during an interview at PAX East 2019, Todd Howard said this when asked about fan theories. Quote, "I think that they're all good. Like I said there, people want to know the truth. But even my perspective is one version of the truth of what happened in the history of the Elder Scrolls and so forth. I would tamper their desire to have all mysteries revealed, because mysteries are good for a fantasy world to have. What is beyond the ocean? What if we do a game in Akamir? These are all things we have thought about. I could sit here and tell you lots about Akamir. Actually, one of the original Skyrim designs had, I think it was Uriel V returning with his army of dragons from Akavir to retake his throne. But it was sort of like, keep the mysterious lands mysterious. There's enough to do in Tamriel proper. As time goes on, I like to have those elements of mystery, or really strange things you can't wrap your head around. And quote. So, there you have it. At one point, Skyrim's plotline wasn't supposed to center around Alduin and Paarthurnax and the great battle for the World Eater, but instead was supposed to center around the return of Uriel V from Akavir. He survived. In fact, this is why I think so many of our sources from the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion are so careful to paint him in a good light. Back when Bethesda was making TES 4, they already knew or suspected that they might want to have Uriel V play a big part in Skyrim. So, when they were writing books about him, they were careful to make sure he was presented as a good guy, because perhaps they were preparing to make him a protagonist. Another important part about Todd Howard's quote that I don't want to forget is that he mentions Uriel V returning with an army of dragons. Somehow he got those. I mean, Akavir's name does literally translate into Dragonland. However, the people of Skyrim had always assumed the dragons in Akavir had all been killed thousands of years ago. Apparently not. Apparently, they must still be there. Another interesting...
Good idea, Donald. It'll make our team more capable than it already is.
That's true, Joe. I will say, even though I'm disappointed in myself for not evolving at the time to have a no draft, Nido thing still looks amazing regardless.
I know Joe and I were hard on you for not having it learn draft design. But at the end of the day, Nido thing is still a beast. They're a great moves for TM. Do that for Rock, but man, look at that Nido thing. I love these Gen 1 designs. They're just something amazing. Okay, we get that you love these designs, Joe. You don't have to say that every time.
Yeah, for real, Joe. By the way, Donald, how far do you plan on progressing in this game?
I think going through the SSN will be enough for today, in all honesty. There's going to be a lot of trainers in that over here. For the love of God, Donald, please don't skip the trainers from here like you did in Mount Moon. We need all the experience we can get.
I have to agree with Joe on this one, Donald. Skipping trainers is just unnecessary in my opinion.
Both of you guys calm the hell down, Joe. I won't skip the trainers. And Barack, nobody asked for your opinion.
Okay, you don't have to be messed up about it. Besides, how are you going to train the team up this time around? Will you actually utilize the entire team this time?
I want to train Mankey as much as I can because for now, he's our only Pokemon that's solid against water types, and having a primate would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be nice and all. By the way, having a Growlithe on our team looks pretty easy. Arguably, is a very good Pokemon. Joe, I don't know.
Conversation, Barack. The more we talk about it, the higher of a chance it has of happening. You chose your Pokemon for our team, Joe, and that was Charmeleon.
Seriously, Joe, no true Pokemon master should have two of the same primary typings in their party. Besides, don't you and Donald still have to decide on the last Pokemon for our party?
Yeah, I already got one in mind, but Donald told me that he hasn't thought of his yet. He's literally throwing. Like hell that's throwing. I'm just taking my time thinking of the last member for our team. You actually need a brain for this, Joe, and I'm not sure your brain is capable of coming up with a good idea at this point.
Okay, let's try to not roast each other this early. By the way, Donald, I like your strategy with regards to training up our team.
Thanks, Barack.
If memory serves correct, you get the Brick Break TM in the SS and you should definitely teach it to Mankey. It will make it crack.
I actually forgot about the Brick Break TM being in the SSN. Thanks for reminding me. I'll definitely teach it to Mankey since Brick Break is way better than Karate Chop. Whoa. You forgot something, Donald, and I'm the one with dementia. Look who's talking.
Okay, Joe, everybody forgets small details here and there. You literally forget everything.
Let's move on from that topic. I want to train Mankey and Charmeleon, but these goddamn gentlemen keep sending out Nidoran. I don't want them to be poisoned, so I feel obligated to send out Nidoking.
Yeah, I get that, but you can always get heals from the beautiful young lady.
Not this crap again.
Goddamn girl, a cherry pie does sound nice, that's for sure.
Of course it sounds nice to you, fat ass. When does it ever not sound nice?
The dream of having an argument-free gaming session has yet to happen, I guess.
Don't even start with me, Joe. Just because I said a cherry pie sounds good right now, that doesn't mean that I'm a fat ass.
You're literally a 400-pound Cheeto. Wanting the cherry pie or not doesn't change that dumbass.
Okay, let's chill out. Look another Nidoran. Will you switch to Nidoking Donald?
I just hope it doesn't poison me.
Here we go.
Are you serious right now? Every time our opponent lands a poison sting, it poisons every time. But when we tried using poison sting against Starmie, it didn't poison until after 4 or 5 of them. Such bullcrap.
I have to agree with you on this, Donald. That match against Starmie was absolute bullcrap. I'm still processing how we pulled that off, to be honest.
Wait, we had a match against Starmie? When?
And I'm the one with dementia, Joe? How the hell do you forget our battle against Starmie? We literally just finished that crap.
Yeah, for real, Joe, I can't defend you on this one. Our battle against Misty and Starmie was one for the ages that even I thought your dementia couldn't even let you forget that battle. Damn.
Okay, I was just kidding. Boys, take a joke. But oh look, it's her again. And her legs are back, and her hair, and her eyes, and her...
Okay, that's enough out of you. You're simping over that one chick so much that it's ridiculous at this point. Are you really going to get hard every time we have to face against this lad?
How can you not, Barack?
Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm not fucking surprised by your disgusting behavior. And oh look, this bitch has a Nidoran to try poisoning Donald, and you still simp over her, even when she tries to poison a teammate.
Well, technically, Nidoking can't get poisoned, Barack. I'm not sure if you knew that.
Shut the fuck up, you demented old hag. Of course I knew that. Donald made the right play by switching into Nidoking to prevent that bullshit from happening.
Okay, let's chill out a bit, boys.
Only if Joe.
Bye-bye, baby girl.
Never fucking
Look at the way she's smiling at me, boys.
What were you going to say, Barack?
Never fucking mind, it doesn't matter. But hey, at least you got the brick break, DM. Now Mankey will be overpowered for sure.
Yeah, I agree with Barack. Make sure to delete Scratch.
I'm not fucking deleting Scratch. There needs to be some variety with the move types that Mankey has Joe. Brick Break is a way better version of Karate Chop. There's literally no need for it.
Are you fucking throwing right now? That makes no fucking sense to me.
Actually, that makes sense to me, Donald. Good shit. Don't worry about Joe's dumbass.
I'm not necessarily worrying at this point. I'm just curious to see how much dumber he can get, to be honest with you.
Shut the fuck up, Donald. Don't you ever call me dumb when you literally graduated from the Donald Trump University or wherever you got your degree from.
Newsflash, Joe. I graduated from the University of Pennsylvania in 1968. Definitely better than wherever the hell you went.
Seriously? 1968? Who the hell remembers shit from 1968?
Well, you were like 60 years old at that time, so I figured you might have remembered.
No, I don't remember, and shut the fuck up, Barack. That wasn't even close to funny.
Yeah, no, that was pretty funny, Joe.
Like hell it was.
But I'm impressed, Donald. You're literally speedrunning through these trainers with no trouble at all. Good shit.
Thanks, Barack. These water trainers will be annoying since they counter Nidoking and Charmeleon, but Mankey with Brick Break should be able to destroy them all.
Do you know what level Mankey evolves with Barack?
I believe it's at level 28. Primate will definitely be useful. I'm super excited to see it unlock its fullest potential.
God fucking damn, look at that damage, boys.
That was literally obliteration. Our party construction is definitely looking good so far, boys. I'm feeling good about our chances for the Elite Four.
Speaking of team construction, Joe, I figured out what I wanted for our last Pokemon.
Okay, Barack, can you leave the call so we can discuss it?
No can do, Joe. I don't feel good about this potential conversation, so I'll be the mediator just in case things get ugly. Besides, I don't really care for surprises.
Okay, fine. On the count of 3, Donald, say your Pokemon.
Sounds good.
3, 2, 1.
Exeggutor.
Jesus fucking Christ, here we fucking go.
Seriously, Joe? Snorlax?
Fuck you!
Let me guess. You want Snorlax because he can sleep most of the fucking time like his senile ass.
Go fuck yourself, Donald. If anything,
Snorlax is a fucking fat ass like your super overweight bitch ass. Snorlax is an amazing Pokemon.
Okay, let's both calm the fuck down or else this fucking ball will go into the shits. I'll be the mediator here and I'll decide between the two after you two give your takes if that's okay, since I believe that's fair.
You know what, Barack? That's a fucking amazing idea. Good shit. I'll go first then.
Go for it, Donald. Why should we get technical over Snorlax?
Well, for starters, it has two typings, grass and psychic. We don't have either. Grass covers a lot and psychic is literally overpowered in this game. I think this is a no-brainer.
Not bad, Donald. What about you, Joe?
The only thing I'll agree with on Donald is that psychic moves are really good in this game. That being said, we have a lot of potential damage on this team. Charizard, Primate, Nidoking, and Grass doesn't serve much of a purpose. Snorlax will play our tank role and it helps tremendously against the Elite Four, not to mention that higher base stat, learn great moves. This is a no-brainer for Rock.
Holy shit, Joe. Did you fucking come up with a fucking script or some shit? How the hell did you manage to come up with all of that in such a short amount of time?
Papa Joe just cooked, that's what happened.
Yeah, whatever you say. What's your decision, Barack?
I gotta admit, boys, you two made great arguments. Tell you what, though, since both of those Pokemon appear later in the game, let me sit on this and make a decision in a bit, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay with me. What about you, Donald?
That's fine with me. I really hope you make the right decision here, Barack.
Honestly, Donald, I think you can't go wrong with either option. I wonder what other people would think about this situation.
Yeah, for real, but damn, Donald, you're almost done with the lower four already. Barack is right. You're literally just cruising through this, if you know what I mean.
Holy shit, that was a corny-ass joke.
Nice one, Joe. Cruising through this.
Talk your fucking titties, Barack. It wasn't that funny.
I will say this, Donald, trash is more important than I thought it was. I apologize for accusing you of fraud.
You're okay, Joe. I'm just glad that you're able to see it from my side.
By the way, Donald, now that you're almost done with the trainers, how do you feel about the rival battle coming up?
Honestly, Barack, I wouldn't even consider that shit a rivalry. They punch his ass every fucking time, and he still continues to treat us serious. I'll never understand his position.
100% agree, Donald.
Oh, would you look at that? I just found Joe's favorite PM.
Good one. Nice shit, Donald.
Really, Barack, you're gonna laugh at that? That fucking joke is so repetitive.
I can't blame you, Joe. It never gets old.
You know what is getting old, though? These fucking fishermen with goddamn tentacles.
Jesus fucking Christ, there's another one.
As annoying as they are, they actually give decent experience for whatever reason. I can't complain about that. Nancy is getting closer and closer to evolving into a primate. That's exciting.
Yeah, but I can complain about how all these useless ass tentacles do is span supersonic like holy shit. They're the water version of Zubat.
I gotta agree with you. By the way, Joe, I know you were upset at not being able to take on this gym, but at least you'll be able to take on the Vermilion City gym since it's your turn next. You better start getting prepared for it. Oh, fuck, I forgot. Yes, I'm getting so fucking excited. Yes! What the fuck?
Just ignore him, Donald. I get fucking
Water, unlike Gatorade.
Well, I appreciate the apology, but it's not needed anymore. I'd much rather prefer you apologize to me for the Overwatch session we had.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
I love how we're kicking ass for you today on the SASN, boys. There's no doubt that we'll dominate moving forward, but I do low-key wish we had more Pokemon in our party right now. It'd be nice to mix it up.
You're not entirely wrong for saying that, Joe. Soon enough, though, we'll be able to get some of the Pokemon that we've been wanting.
Here we fucking go again, another tentacle hunt.
Wait, what the fuck? Why the hell does this one sailor have a Magpie, but every other sailor has a water-type Pokemon?
He's just trying to stand out and be fucking special. Unfortunately, his ass is about to get fucking wrecked by us, so he can take his special and sorry ass back home.
Goddamn, Joe, it's just a fucking trainer battle.
Yeah, no, fuck all these trainers. All they do is try ganging up on us when our Pokemon are low health and try shooting us on. They can't even beat us even with a fucking hand. Absolutely pathetic.
Fuck all these trainers, you say, Joe? Even that one same chick you sit over all the goddamn time?
Don't talk about her like that. Fuck all those other trainers, but in terms of doing that, you know what I do. No need for me to say anymore.
Jesus fucking Christ, Donald, why the hell would you even ask that question?
To be honest, Barack, I have no fucking clue. Well, at least we're on our
Yeah, for real. I think there's only a couple of trainers and then we have the rival battle. How are you feeling, Donald?
I'm fine. Whoa, hold on. Barack, did you happen to catch a glimpse of that Pokemon?
Yeah, I did, Joe. It's a fucking Snorlax. What about it?
I think that's a fucking sign that you have to catch a Snorlax and add it to our team. It's only right. Shut the hell up, Joe. Just let Barack take his fucking time and decide.
Yeah, for real, Joe. I promise I'll make the right decision. You got nothing to worry about.
I hope so, Donald. Why the hell did you use Metal Claw on
A fucking foot.
Shut the hell up, Joe. I can have a brain fart every now and then. Stop finding opportunities to shit on me when your brain is literally a pile of shit.
All right, boys. I'm going to have to step in here to stop the argument. If it's the time to argue, now's not the time. The rival battle is coming up, and I want Donald to demolish his fucking team to the point where he wants to retire and quit for Pokemon.
Okay, I'll back off just for you, Barack. But in all seriousness, do you really think I have trouble against the dude with a fucking Raticate? Speaking of Raticate, didn't that bitch die? Isn't that the fucking theory that Gary's Raticate died when he left that band? Why you never see it again? Jesus fucking Christ, Joe. That's the stupidest theory I've ever heard. If there's no healer from the SS band, then how are his other Pokemon still alive then, huh? Who's to say that Raticate didn't fucking get replaced because it wasn't as strong as his other Pokemon? That's not a crazy theory you will be pandering. Gary literally visited the last town. He was probably visiting Raticate's grave.
Sorry, Joe, and with Donald on this one. Your conspiracy theory is as crazy, if not more crazy, than those bullshit Fox News conspiracy theories. Get it together, Joe.
Okay, Fox News out of it. Joe, why the fuck would a champion have a Raticate? Think of that for a second. We're not entirely wrong for thinking that. The timing of all this is pretty suspicious. We literally killed a fucking Raticate on the SS band. I'll stick to my fucking belief.
Donald, just let it go. Once Joe has a certain mindset, there's no way you're changing that. Just focus on the fucking Pikachu that's trying to bullshit you with spamming double teams.
Focus up, Donald. Well, I just took care of it. Fuck Pikachu and his stupid ass bullshit. Nice job, Donald. Goddamn, I just love these gentlemen boys. What the fuck is wrong with you? Get the fuck out of here with your such ass bullshit.
Yeah, for real, Joe.